what you're saying about expectation is something that I feel is quite a funny one. People will go to the same doctor over and over and over again without any real results, and they won't complain about it, but they'll come to a homeopath or any natural health practitioner for that matter and expect an instant cure. So I do think that the expectation is not really weighted properly, because they will expect us to cure it straight away, but they will go back to the same doctor even with a wrong diagnosis or, pharmaceutical medication, which is giving them side effects, and somehow they will keep going back. But often I feel we only get one chance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I have a bit of empathy with them, because then I remember back to when I went to my homeopath first time for a long-term complaint, and I expected there to be a massive shift in one session, especially when you're not in the UK. We have the NHS where it's free, so I was paying for this, and we don't pay for healthcare. So for me to pay quite a bit of money for a session, I was expecting that much. I don't know, in ratio of what I spent back in healing
results.
And when that didn't happen, there was a little suspicious. Oh, are you just dragging this out? So I do think people will think that way, but we have to, as homeopaths, realize that those patients are not in the same place as we are. And as homeopaths, when we've been doing this for so long, it's so easy, isn't it, to forget what it's like not to have this knowledge, to only have seen the doctor, have such a narrow view of health and expectations, that I got used to trying to keep and having to repeat. And having to, so you think you've told them all right, you're on board, you've got a realistic expectation, and still they'll come back with the wrong expectations. So sometimes you also have to realize you have to keep repeating this till the penny drops. And then they're on board for life then, aren't they?
They are. And it's such a different mindset anyway, the pharmaceutical model to holistic wellness, because we look at the whole, mental, emotional, spiritual. What was your pregnancy like? What was your preconception like? Were there any shocks or traumas during your pregnancy? What was the birth like? The types of questions that we ask is just so holistic. Whereas, and the whole way that we approach health and well-being is completely opposite. So if you're coming from a medical model, which most of us did, I certainly was raised with pharmaceutical medicine and came upon homeopathy by chance, as many of us did. And it's a real mind shift. You really have to change your paradigm and your way of looking at life.
Yes. Well, you said there about, asking about the medical history and pregnancy and labor. When I see my autistic clients, sometimes that is the first time the mother has been asked about the birth. Often the birth has been extremely traumatic, lots of medicines in pregnancy and during labor and after. And it's the first time they've been asked with such an importance put on that moment. And it's so therapeutic. And I think in that moment, there's an intense connection between the practitioner and the patient, because you're going into such a sacred place for that mother. And I think at that point, mothers really realize what's going on. I think so much happens in that moment. They also, I think so many light bulbs go on when they think, she's asking me about this. This is really important. No one's asked me about this. Gosh, I really do think this has had an impact in my child. If the doctors haven't asked me, this has got to be the way to go. So much happens intensely in those minutes of discussion on many levels. Isn't that lucky we get to do that?
It's amazing. And also, don't you feel that intuitively as mothers, we have a special instinct? But unfortunately, in today's society, it often gets suppressed, and we get told that what we feel about what our baby is doing or their development or our pregnancy is not real or it's imagined. And so a lot of that instincts that we have naturally as mothers end up getting suppressed. And so then when you come to a homeopath and they're asking you these questions which resonate with your own intuition, often these mothers feel a huge relief, because they're finally like, yes, I knew that car accident I had in my pregnancy, which caused such a shock, could possibly be why my child now has autism, or that medical intervention during the birth is what's possibly causing this. But the doctors laughed it off, or medical professionals laughed it off. And now here you are talking to me about it and saying, that this all forms part of the picture, and it's such a huge relief for a lot of them because we believe them.